director of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts for about 15 years, and it's one of the nation's top 10 comprehensive art museums. He's involved with the Mayor's Tourism Commission, the Black History Cultural Museum, and quite a few other activities. Please read his bio if you haven't already. And please welcome Alex Nyerges. Thank you.
I appreciate this, and thank you, Nancy, and especially thanks to Clara for cajoling me into doing this. And I'm sorry that we're doing it on Zoom, but it's pretty convenient. I'm happy that we're able to get together like this. So I have a set of slides that I'm going to zip through, and I want to thank Stephanie here in my office for helping out since I am technologically limited in my abilities to do things like this. So what I would like to do is take you on a real quick tour. For those of you who have been to the museum, it'll all be a refresher. For those of you who've not been to the museum lately or ever, quite frankly, it'll give you a really good quick overview of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. And as you heard, we're one of the top 10 comprehensive art museums in America, and that's on pretty much any level. The size of our facilities, our attendance, our collections, the size of our operation, our budgets, our endowments. We are a significant institution. We just happen to be in Richmond, Virginia, but we also serve all of Virginia. So I'll give you a quick preview of that in just a moment. This is an aerial view of part of our campus. We sit on 14 acres between the Fan Historic District and the Museum Historic District. What you see in the middle of the picture is the 2010 McLaughlin Wing. And then just to the lower left-hand side is a building that was actually a plantation house that was a plantation from the early 19th century, about 100 acres with some 30 enslaved people. And in that building, we operate one of the Richmond region tourism centers that's open 365 days a year, and also an exhibition space so you can understand the history of our location called the Grove from the earliest times when Native Americans inhabited the site all the way up to the present day. We are, I'm proud to say, the only museum in America that offers free general admission and is open 365 days a year. The only time that's different is if it's a leap year. Of course, back in 2020, we did take a pause because of the pandemic, but otherwise we're open every day of the week. We are open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evenings until 9. Our permanent collection is one of the best in the country. Our most sought after collections, generally speaking, are numerous, but at the top of the list, the Faberge Collection. We have the largest collection of Faberge outside of Russia, and we have the third largest collection of imperial eggs, other than the Faberge Museum and the Kremlin in Russia. We have one of the great American collections thanks to numerous donors, but particularly to the McLaughlin family. But then the newest, you see the newest acquisition in the center, Asher B. Durand's Progress from 1853. We also are a museum that has focused on building our collections of African-American art, sculpture, paintings, photography, and the like. Here you see a work by Buford Delaney of Marian Anderson from the 1960s, Augusta Savage from the middle 1940s. And one of the most recent acquisitions just acquired this spring, Alma Thomas, a Washingtonian. She taught in the Washington public schools for decades, painted in her kitchen and on her back porch. She's just had a fabulous exhibition at the Phillips Collection, a retrospective, which was brilliantly done by my colleague Dorothy and her colleagues there at the Phillips. Our collections of American include Native American as well as pre-Columbian. And then we have one of the very best collections of African art in the country. And here you see another view. Our African collections are extensive. They cover all of both Saharan and sub-Saharan Africa. And we have concentrations from the Congo and Ethiopia, one of the larger collections of Ethiopian art in America. And then 21st century art. And I'll come back to what we're doing with all of these collections when I talk a little later about the expansion plans for the museum that are coming up shortly. Kehinde Wiley, we did a big exhibition of Kehinde Wiley's work about 6 years ago from Brooklyn. And one of the centerpieces is this painting that we acquired back in 2006, but we also have a sculpture that is 29 feet tall out at the entrance of the museum called Rumors of War. And then we specialize in big exhibitions. Exhibitions are the engine that drives the train. So we have done everything from Picasso, from the Musée Picasso in Paris, which was about a decade ago, a huge show of Chihuly. These exhibitions we bring together, both of them, in fact, drew something north of about 200,000 visitors each. And more recently, we brought Emperor Qin and his terracotta army, the legacy of the first emperor of China, from Xi'an, curated by our curator of Chinese art, Li Jin. We also, in addition to acquiring works of art by African-American artists, we have an extensive program of special exhibitions. This is an exhibition that we had last year called The Dirty South, curated by the head of 21st century art, who Valerie Castle-Oliver, earlier this spring, received, and literally on the same day, 3 national curatorial awards. And I mean, she basically cornered the market. And one of the reasons was this exhibition and the book that accompanied it. And it's now on a tour around the country. Ansel Adams, our photography collection is extensive and growing. Recently, we acquired the entire Aaron Siskin archives, some 8,000 photographs. This is an exhibition which was curated by one of our American curators. And then we also operate on a global stage. Even though Virginia is our first name, we are out there in the world regularly. Here you see our former Governor McAuliffe, the former ambassador to the United States from the People's Republic of China, the First Lady, and the head of the cultural attaché, and me, as you can tell, on an exhibition that we had put together from our partner at the Palace Museum in Beijing, better known to most of us as the Forbidden City. The Terracotta Army exhibition, which I mentioned a little bit ago, another example of what we do in China. It's a little difficult right now because of the travel complications in China. And here you see us opening an exhibition at the Forbidden City of our Faberge collection. We also tour to other parts of the world. This is in Qatar at the National Museum of Qatar in Doha. And we brought our Jean Schlumberger collection of jewelry, which came to us from Mrs. Mellon, who lived out in Middleburg. And it's the largest collection of jewelry by Schlumberger in the world. And then we also toured Mr. Mellon's collection of French Impressionism and later works, which toured to a variety of museums across the country and also to the Palazzo Zabarella in Padua. We are founder institution of a French and American collaborative that includes 16 French museums and 16 here in North America, 15 in the United States, and then also the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. And then looking a little bit into the future, because we'd love to entice you to come down the road, for those of you that aren't closer by. We have a very important strategic plan that's moving us into the future in a variety of ways, and I'll talk about that here with a couple of slides. A curator-led visitor center experience. We've just opened a show, the first one-person show in North America by a Tibetan artist, Sharon Sherpa, who is trained traditionally in the Thangka painting style, but does these incredible works of art, colorful and dynamic. And then we just opened a couple of weeks ago, Whistler to Cassatt. It is the impact of American painters who journeyed to France at the end of the 19th century. And so imagine a couple of rooms of works by James Abbott McNeill Whistler and Mary Cassatt. It is one of the more spectacular shows. And again, we're open every day of the week, 3 nights a week. And I invite you to come see this stunning exhibition. In addition, as I mentioned, to what we do here on the campus in Richmond, which is about 14 acres and 7 buildings, we are also across the state every day in a variety of ways. Our distance learning program, and here you see one of our educators talking to a school down in Grundy, Virginia. And Grundy, for those of you who've never been there, from Richmond, it's a 6-hour or so drive. From Washington, D.C., it's about 7.5 hours. You can't get much further away and more disconnected from art museums than this. Yet they are live streaming into the classroom. We have a variety of programs that cover every subject matter you can imagine, all following the standards of learning for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so our educators are online with tens of thousands of students and providing them access that they cannot have virtually any other way except virtual, unless of course they make the drive to Richmond. And then we also go out on the road. In 2018, we relaunched the Artmobile, VMFA on the road. In 1952, we became the first museum in the world with a mobile art museum. At one time, we had 4 tractor trailers out on the road. But you have to go back to 1952. There were only 2 art museums in the entire state of Virginia at the time, ours and then in Norfolk, which was known then as the Norfolk Museum of Arts and Sciences, and now as the Chrysler, but there are 24 art museums accredited in Virginia here in 2022, all partners that we send exhibitions and programs and a variety of other partnership activities to. But this is spectacular. It is a 53-foot trailer, and you see on the inside exhibitions of real art. It is Wi-Fi connected, and every time it rolls into a town or a city somewhere in Virginia, it attracts a crowd. In its first year, we had 170,000 people go through the new Artmobile. We're also building the institution physically as well as financially. One of the really exciting things that's happening, if you look at the center of this picture, and if I used a pointer, I can show you, but at the top of your picture, oh, thank you, Stephanie, very much. There you go. That is the planned new McLaughlin wing. Now, if you think I've gotten a little confused, because up at the top, you see the McLaughlin wing, and Stephanie's going to circle the McLaughlin wing, Roman numeral 1. Jim and Fran McLaughlin, who live in Bristol, Virginia, and Naples, Florida, they gave a $57 million gift to name what it will be the McLaughlin wing, Roman numeral 2. Let me show you what's going to happen inside. We're going to have a space for entertainment that will be able to sit 500 people. We invite your group to come down. We, by the way, have our Amuse restaurant, which is one of the top 10 restaurants in Richmond, Virginia, which is saying a lot because we're one of the foodie towns in America. A variety of magazines that deal with food and beverage have rated us as one of the great places to eat in America. We're also going to be providing more outdoor space. We have a 4-acre sculpture garden. And then looking at the museum from the outside, this is the McLaughlin Wing Part 1. And so from this, we'll be expanding to the right-hand side. We'll be adding galleries for African art. We'll be moving our African galleries there. We'll be moving all of our American galleries there. we'll be adding another special exhibition space that will double our capacity to do the things like the Picasso, the Terracotta Army shows, everything that we do in our major exhibition space. We'll always have a major exhibition on, and about 70% of the time, we will have two major traveling exhibitions simultaneously. Our goal is to bring that many more people to Richmond and to Virginia to really see one of the great art museums that, again, we never close, and we offer free general admission to everyone who comes to the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. So that's kind of a whirlwind tour of everything, and I'm happy now to answer questions about anything I might have missed.
So what are the hours? I know you're never closed, but not 24 hours.
No, and if I had my druthers, we'd be open 24 hours a day. But we are open 10 to 5 every day. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we are open until 9 p.m. We have a cafe that's casual dining on the first floor with a beautiful outdoor deck with a pond surrounding it and the tranquil sculpture garden upstairs in a muse. We not only have the main dining room, but we have the Birch Douglas private dining room, which can seat 40. We have the Claiborne Robertson room, which can seat 100. So if you decide to ever come down as a group, we can entertain you. And as Clara knows, we entertain in style. We've cornered the market on Virginia hospitality.
So we have a Virginian who's put his hand up, Dr. Sam from Richmond himself.
Absolutely, yes. And I've given lectures at your museum on a number of occasions and brought some of my MBA students there about Oriental culture, particularly Japan. And I have 3 items on loan at your museum. And one of those I think is on display in the Oriental section. It's the actual Hibachi Bogata Koren, who was the imperial screen maker to the emperor. And
Right.
that was a special gift from a good friend of mine in Japan. But my question is, I was a number of years at the Virginia General Assembly working as a professional there, not within a political party. But one of the things I did work on is funding for the archives at your museum as well as other museums in Virginia. And I'm just wondering, what is the standing now as far as being able to repair, remake, store, and then take care of those items, which are, I understand, are in the hundreds of thousands that are not actually on display at any one time because you rotate the art items in your galleries, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So if you go 3 months or 4 months later, it's going to be almost in some ways like a different museum. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, we have about 5,000 works of art on display at any point in time for the public to see, and about 1,000 objects a year are rotated in and out of the galleries. And one good example is we have the largest collection of Art Nouveau silver belt buckles in the world. We have the best collection of French Art Nouveau furniture outside of the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, thanks to the Louis family. But so we rotate things. Our archives are extensive. We're going to be expanding the archives. The Razor Center, the Frank Razor Center, is going to be expanding into what is now the American Galleries when we're finished with this expansion project in 2026. And the archives program is expanding. Our paper conservation program is expanding. In fact, we've just added 2 new conservation program conservators to our department. We have maybe the 5th or 6th largest art conservation department of any art museum in the country, but we've just added Chinese painting, and that would actually spill over into Japanese painting, I have to tell you, and Korean as well. But we're in the process of hiring a painting expert. We will be one of only 6 institutions in the United States with that specialty. And then we've also added a photography conservation department to our paper area.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And you're getting adequate funding for the conservation and restoration work?
Well, we are, and we are an agency of the Commonwealth of Virginia, which I should have said up front and
Yeah.
proudly.
And that's how I
but-
worked on the monies to come over to your
Yep.
institution, actually.
But the reality is that much like the universities and other institutions of higher learning like us, only 20 cents on the dollar comes from our appropriation from the General Assembly and the governor. The other 80% of our operating budget is all from the private sector. And it falls into three broad areas: contributed income, which is about a third, our earned income, which is everything from food and beverage to ticket sales and things of that nature, and then our endowment. And we have one of the 10 largest endowments of any art museum in the country. We actually have the 5th largest acquisitions endowment of any art museum in America. And when I mentioned that we are focused on African-American art, we spend 40% of our acquisition dollars on African-American art. The average art museum in America today spends about 2%.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure. Thank
Alex,
you.
I had a question. I work in a gallery in downtown DC, and we have a NFT gallery coming in our space. Are you guys branching out into the NFT space at any given point in time?
We're like everybody else. We're looking at NFTs, and of course, I'm, as you can tell, I'm not 22 years old anymore. So I might have been more inclined to jump in head first. We're looking at opportunities. We have not made any decisions yet, but we'd be happy to chat. Our head of curatorial and our IT people are looking at what might be possible.
Do you offer any hands-on art courses at the museum?
Oh my goodness, we have both for children and adults. Our youth program is from infant to infinity, and so we literally start at 6 months old and have one of the best programs for pre-K children in the country. We also have the studio school across Grove Avenue, which is part of our campus, and it's a series of connected buildings that offer painting. They do ceramics, photography, and let me tell you, it's tough to enroll. Our summer programs and summer camps for kids are just off the charts great and very popular.
What is your position on sustainability, I guess, from an environmental point of view?
Well, it's huge. Obviously, we're looking at the sustainable parts of the building and constructing it, how it operates. And of course, the nice thing is with technology, green roofs, and all those kinds of things, we have a very good path to being able to get what we're aiming for is the highest LEED certification, so that when we operate this building, we're going to have the least amount of impact. The biggest difference, I will say, for us, I mean, it's a little difficult compared to some places because we have to maintain the proper climate control 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, regardless of the exterior circumstances. And that by itself, we work toward that, but we've been able to, through, for example, lighting technology, which today occupies such a tiny piece of our consumption diet. And actually, we can light things so much better than ever before in our history. But that's very much on the top of our agenda. I'll tell you what, I've got the best staff of any art museum in the country, if not the world. I've got 2 boards, a board appointed by the governor. That's fabulous, with great board leadership, a foundation board that is a 501c3. We just had our executive committee meeting today. I am blessed with great leadership from the board standpoint. I'm blessed with about 650 museum colleagues here that make it possible for us to be open 365 days a year.
How did you become the powerhouse you are? What was the trajectory of your art museum? I mean, you're extraordinary, really. I may say so.
Well, I'll tell you that it's a accumulation of a long series of really good decisions. In 1934, the decision of the General Assembly and the governor to found an art museum and have
Okay, so
one
it
so that
started there.
Virginia was, yeah, it started there. But then, you know, people like Paul Mellon, whose father was Andrew Mellon, who founded the National Gallery, the Lewis family, the McLaughlin family, countless donors. I mean, so far we've raised more than $300 million for this current capital campaign, and have dozens of seven-figure donors to the campaign already. And then the collectors who have gifted us, for example, one of the finest, if not the finest collection of English silver in the United States. I mentioned the Lewis collection of Art Nouveau and Art Deco, but then also the Lewis collection of modern and contemporary art, which is huge and among the best in the country. Faberge I mentioned. And then right now that we have another special exhibition, I probably should put a slide in, the collection of the Saunders family, Virginians, who are now Palm Beach residents, but one of the most stunning collections in private hands of old master painting in this country. You know, half a dozen Canalettos, works by Guardi, a couple of the most beautiful Frans Hals portraits you're ever going to see. And that exhibition just opened about 3 weeks ago. Let me tell you, it's a world-class collection, and we're just proud that the Saunders have brought that collection home to Virginia.
You get 80% of your funds from non-public sources. 20% comes from the state. How do you do that? That's quite an accomplishment to achieve that level of funding. What does that represent per year?
Well, our operating budget's about $50 million a year. The state's appropriation is just about 11. There's 40% that comes from our endowment for operations. We also have an equal amount to that goes to acquisitions. That's beyond the $50 million. Our capital projects on any given year are $5, $10, $15 million. This expansion is about $200 million. And then our food and beverage operation is $7, $8, $10 million. I mean, obviously pre-pandemic and hopefully now post-pandemic. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. And we conclude each meeting after the Q&A with presentation of a tree certificate. We'll have to mail the certificate to you. We have a tradition in partnership with the National Park Service of planting a tree in the honor of each of our speakers, planted either on the mall or down by the tidal basin. It includes replacement cherry blossom trees or a native tree to go into one of our downtown parks. We've been on a campaign of retreeing our downtown parks. So
love it.
We will invite you to the next tree planting ceremony. I just called our contact at the National Park Service yesterday, and hopeful that we'll be pinning down a date very soon. So give you a reason if you'd like to drive up I-95 to join us if you can.
I'm a former Washingtonian, a two-time graduate at George Washington. Trust me, I don't need any excuses. Got lots of friends in the Washington area. And again, thanks, Clara, for inviting me to join you all today.